Instagram never shows me if I'm live. It's so silly.
I
But
think we are. It says it's streaming live.
There we go. Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm here with the beautiful Halina. I'm so grateful to be having this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. So we've been talking a lot about conversations that change everything, that they can change your life. They can change your perspective, your point of view. Just want to make sure I have comments up. And so can you share with me what is a conscious conversation to you?
Oh my God. Like, wow. Oh no. Wow, this is interesting. I'm just going to go with what shows up for me. It's really interesting because like before I discovered Access and I started to go to classes, I actually had no idea that we can have conversations like this. I was probably always kind of asking for it because I don't even know how to say it, but it's like, that's probably the thing also with any conversation that is going on in any class. And that's how it is for me. And I cannot point out a specific conversation because they always all the time expand so much more for me. Like it's kind of like they're building up on any other conversation we had. And I would say that's coming to what you asked me, like that's, I would say, what is a conversation or a conscious conversation? It's like that it's kind of always builds on each other. And it's, I don't even know how to say this, but for me, this is like with anything, like the conversations I was always asking for, I didn't cognitively knew that that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I remember growing up, I don't know why this is just popping into my awareness, but I had these really good girlfriends and we would get into these, we would call them back in the day, like deep conversations, right? And having these deep conversations. And I remember us at the end of that, we'd always walk away just feeling different, like something had changed or we had changed. But there was no cognitive, like this happened, you know? And I actually had to learn how to do small talk because I didn't know how to do it. Because all of my friends, we would have these like deep conversations. I was a waitress though in a restaurant, and you can't have. Well, I guess you could, but I didn't know how to have a deep conversation with a stranger. Yeah. So I had to learn small talk, and I think, you know, being in the world as a young adult and learning small talk, I started to have that same thing that you're talking about, like that craving, that desire, that yearning for a more conscious conversation. I mean, consciousness, it includes everything and judges nothing, right? So those conversations without judgment, without expectation. Would you talk about that? Like, have you ever gone into a conversation with an expectation of a result, and how does that show up? Like, how does that turn out, I guess?
You mean like at any point in my life?
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't think that's really the case.
That's so cool.
Yeah, because also when you just said that, you know, talking with friends and like learning how to do small talk, what that showed me is like that I wasn't talking a lot. When for example, you know, I also had like friends where I could have like different conversations. What you just beautifully said, it was kind of similar for me. But I also was surrounded by a lot, also in the industry I was, you know, working for, like when you go to parties and all that stuff. But basically, I remember that I was mostly listening.
Oh, wow.
You know, people were talking and talking, but also because like all I could have done is like, you know, like, I don't know the English word, find the English word, not like, just, you know, buy into their points of views or go into their conversation, just aligning and agreeing with this. And that was not necessarily what I wanted to do, but I was just listening, you know, and people were actually a lot asking me questions. Like it's really interesting because I never really talked about it, but I always noticed that people were always come to me and ask me questions because I wasn't talking a lot.
Ah.
So, and I think that's also with the conversation and access, for example, and the classes, like I'm not asking a lot of questions. Like it's more for me, I'm listening a lot, but the conversations, also what you said in the beginning, what is like a conscious conversation or conversation consciousness, is like it's the energetic part of it for me, I would say. Because
Yeah.
I'm so energetic, which I had no idea, but like just I'm learning so much about energy just from those conversations because they go beyond words. That's so beyond the cognitive part of it. It's really like following the energy, and that's the conversation I was always asking for. I didn't knew, like, I had no idea. But with like, I think that's the main thing for me, that I also never really have an expectation about this. I just be part of whatever is going on, and then I follow the energy, and sometimes I ask a question, sometimes I'm just listening.
Yeah.
That's my kind of conversation as well, like listening.
Yes, and I love that, because there's listening from, okay, someone's talking at me and I'm just
Yeah.
And then there's you're sharing this energy of like listening.
Yeah.
And I get tingles everywhere. It's like that's a conversation you can have in nature. It's a conversation you can have with the body.
Yeah.
It's a conversation you can have with a being. And it's like listening is part of that conversation.
Yeah. And it's like, thank you for that, because I haven't been really acknowledging that lately, that I was always more of a listener rather than talking, and then people asking me questions because they were like, they kind of probably had a sense of like that I know something. So they were, maybe even it was random questions like, like, what do you think about this? And they actually wanted to know what my point of view about this, but not like from like, okay, now you have to align and agree with what I just said, but more like, what do you actually think about this?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a cool manipulation to get the conversation into consciousness, because we know with access, like asking true questions with curiosity is an ingredient for a conscious conversation, right?
Yeah.
You create this space where they're so curious about what you're aware of, they have to ask you a question, which means they have to like open up to receiving different possibilities.
Totally. And it's also like, I was also never really, I don't know why I was like this. Sometimes it's fun to do like gossip, but I was also never really much into gossip. I wasn't really judging it either. That's what people just did, but I was never really, like buying into it or fueling it. But somehow, I don't even know what to say. It's like somehow by not doing it, this sometimes just stopped, and people were actually starting to go into a different direction with this, because I was not really doing it. And also what you just said, this is also something that Gary Douglas says a lot. Like, it's like, what if you don't try to be interesting, be interested?
Yes.
If you actually have a conversation, just be interested and ask people about them.
Yeah.
And this is also, I also know always when Gary Douglas says that it has a very different energy. It's not from like keeping, like artificially creating a conversation. It's more like engaging somebody in a different possibility, which is like somebody's actually interested.
Yeah. Which that can change someone's world. Just interested in me, like just a little nobody here over here.
Yeah.
Acknowledging that they're not a nobody, that they are interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, can we talk a little bit about, because you're a translator, so you translate for Access.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh my gosh, the conversation, because when I'm not a translator, but when I perceive you translators, it's not just simply translating the words. To me, there seems to be this whole like energetic conversation, and it's with the participants, it's with their bodies, it's with the facilitator. Like, could you talk a little about like what you've noticed being the facilitator?
It's like, I would say it's mainly really I don't know if translating energy is the correct wording for it, but it's kind of like, because we are translating words as well, but words are energy. Like, so basically sometimes when there's words, for example, that I don't, for example, Gary Douglas has a very broad spectrum of, like words, like he uses words that probably some native American English people don't even know anymore, because they only send emojis, like so they don't know, and probably I might not know either, because like this is just like something that I'm not a professional translator. But the thing with this, what I'm saying is that because in that moment I actually have to go with the energy of this. And that's where I mostly actually hit the word, like, or I find a word that translate the energy. And Gary Douglas also always says, like if you don't know the word, make a word up that has the same energy, which I think is quite funny. But it's like, I'm like, yeah, I can do that. It's like, but mostly it's really like, it's so much about listening more to the energy and rather than the words, because like there's a lot of thinking going on if you have to think about the words, and that's not really working when you're translating. You basically have to just receive the energy and then let it flow through you. That's how I perceive it. Like, that's how it is for me. I just allow it to flow through me, and then the words just come. Like, I sometimes even don't know like what I'm saying, because it's just like I'm just on this energy flow thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And what's also interesting is like that there's a lot going on with like being in the future with this as well, because like I sometimes also already know what, for example, one of the facilitators going to say, let's say Dane here or Gary Douglas, is like, I already know, but it's kind of like I go into the future and already pick up the energy that comes next, and then I already know the word.
Wow. Yeah.
I know what's coming. Like, I just know.
Yeah.
And that's also with talking about conversations, that is a conversation too. And it's just a conversation that has, at that point, when it's not here yet, because it's still coming, it's already a conversation that I'm having, but it's on an energetic level.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so even like for those of us that aren't translators, like how much could we invite that in our lives to have that energetic conversation with the future?
Yeah. And I think this is like what probably a lot of people have. They are just not willing to be present with it. Like when you have this, I don't know, I have this really weird sense of like, there's something, I don't know what this is, but there's something coming,
Yes.
And then you can actually start to ask questions around this. But sometimes we just like, we just we're just not being present or ask a question. But we can actually, I mean, there's, like I am a futurist. I know this. I always have been. I always had the sense of like, and probably way ahead in the future than I right now think, if this has nothing to do with my mind anyway. But this is like where we can actually also connect in a different way to the future and create a different future. Like, it's like, okay, is that really working, or can I change this even if it's not here yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But this is, for example, these are all things that really, without going to these classes, I would not have had the awareness around this, because this is the conversation that we're having too. Like, like this are energetic conversations. It's about creating your future energetically, everything, because everything is energy. And I get this is like, at least for me, which I really had no idea about before. I mean, I just wasn't, it's like, I was just totally cut it off from everything. Like I was just like not aware of it, but it started to open up more and more when I started to go to access classes and starting to have all these conversations that are energetic. Yes, we still use words.
Yeah.
And, maybe someday this is what I'm asking for, let's do that without words. And it's happening more and more, but it's like,
yeah. Well, okay. So since we're talking about classes, let's talk about classes that both you and I are taking with Gary Douglas. So he has a membership called Conversations in Consciousness. It's twice a month, and it's one of my absolute most favorite classes so far. It's such a huge contribution into my life, like daily. I would love to hear how it's been for you. And what have you been noticing? Have you noticed your conversations like growing and strengthening just from these calls?
Yeah, definitely. I cannot explain in what way, but yes. I guess it's also that, it's with this again, it's like I was also very aware of the future with this, like in a way of like what it would create for my future. Because I was the last year when he started this program, I was translating it the whole year, and I never said yes to a year-long program before translating it. Because it's a commitment as a translator as well, and it's also a commitment for what I'm choosing. Like what would I like to choose? Because I'm not just I'm not only a translator, I'm also part of creating this, like as a participant somehow. So what I notice is that the conversation, I have been in a lot of advanced classes with Gary as well, and took a lot of telecalls and everything. But what I really noticed is that he started to talk about all these things in such a different way. And I don't even know how to explain this, but it opened something totally different for me as well, in terms of like energetically as well, that I was starting to open some kind of like other universes with like energies that I was not aware of before, in a very different way. And then also, yeah, it's so difficult to say, because it's like so different. It's like the conversations are so different. Gary is not, I have never heard Gary talking about things in that way, and going in such like really deeper levels of what he always is talking about, but he's also talking about things that people can actually hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and somehow in this program, like also as it progressed over the year, we dived deeper and deeper, and the conversation got like even expanded even more and more and more. And I also would say that, because I'm also facilitating classes, I'm also a CF, it really, really, I could perceive that it makes me a greater facilitator.
Yeah.
And the other thing also was that, that there's this Access Me app now, like where you can have where you have access to all the classes of the last 25 years, except for the last 2 years that I get added, like after 2 years. But everything that's on there, and I was listening to, by having these conversations of consciousness at the same time, it opened all these conversations in such a different way. Like it was really like this kind of play together. It kind of like, I wouldn't say made more sense, but it was more accessible for me, way more than ever before with everything.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I can say about it. It's really like I'm always like so curious before every call, because I'm like, where are we going today? And I even don't know. It's like, it's like, what are we talking today? And even if people ask questions they have asked before a lot of times, still the conversation is somehow different. Like it's somehow on a deeper level. Like it's really different. So I'm super grateful for Gary to, apparently we might we might be able to hear that. Otherwise, he would not be able to talk about it. But even whoever this sees now, yeah, and it's like, don't think that you cannot perceive or receive that. Like just if it's light for you, or if you have the sense like I want to be on that conversations, you're probably ready to receive something here.
Yeah.
So don't cross that out. Just sign up. Like,
yeah. Well, I love that. And like, maybe not everyone's lucky enough to have people in their lives that they can have those deep conversations with, or go those places where you're like, that just changed everything for me.
yeah.
But this is here, this is available, and you can grow that skill, and you can have those amazing conversations, whether you're actually asking Gary a question and conversing with him, or like you talked about, the energy of listening and being present and being part of the conversation. Either way, I'm richer every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, before we wrap up here, do you have a favorite conversation that with Gary, whether you had it or someone else had it? Do you have a favorite that you want to share?
Oh my God, I have to actually go and re-listen to it, but there was one conversation last year in the Conversation of Consciousness where he talked about something with like moving molecules and everything. And I was like, what the? I'm like, okay, I'm kind of like getting some kind of different access to the universe and how that works. I can really repeat it, but I have the energy of it, and I really have to re-listen to this because that was just so phenomenal. I think I was listening to it like 20 times after it already. I cannot even remember, but that was one of my favorite conversations, I would say, like when he was talking about this, and that was just like, wow. It was like, I was like, as I was like, all of a sudden everything disappeared, and like the universe opened up, and I was like, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, it's just like, wow. And that's the thing, you have to ask Gary a question, and then he's going to give you something, like, but you have to ask him. And that's the wonderful thing as well on this program. You can ask him anything.
Anything. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. Like, even if there's no stupid question, by the way, or wrong or right question. There's just the questions that you're not asking.
Yeah.
Like, so if you want to really, I would highly recommend to anyone, like, what do you know? Like,
yeah.
What do you know? I'm really grateful also that he's continuing, and I think you can also join like whenever you want to join, and you can also, if you're not sure, just go hop on it for a month, and then like if you don't want to continue, you can jump off again.
Yeah.
And see what it creates for you.
Yeah. I love that. And anyone curious, there is a link in the description of this, and you can just click on it, look over the landing page, and see if you want to join us for a conscious conversation.
Yeah.
I think in 8 days is the next one for December. So I wonder what will show up. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Thank
I'm
you,
so
grateful.
grateful.
Yeah, me too.
And bye, everyone. We'll see you next time.